What is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Land of 10,000 Sports Podcast, where this is a Minnesota podcast where you can find daily videos about the Minnesota Vikings, Twins, Minnesota Wild, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. In today's episode, unfortunately, we have to cover some, not great news related to the Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison. So Jordan Addison, I believe it was Sunday night, all the way back to Friday, but no one really saw the news until it was Sunday that Jordan Addison Friday night was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence back in Los Angeles. He's a California kid, went to USC, so back home for the offseason in California and got caught sleeping behind the wheel, was kind of blocking the highway. Very dangerous situation. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and Jordan Addison was able, to, I think, remain healthy despite, the danger he put himself and others in. Just a really stupid situation considering this isn't really Jordan Addison's first offense with driving with cars. Last offseason, obviously, got pulled over for going 150 miles per hour back in Minnesota. He's been a kid that obviously is young and needs to learn to grow up, but definitely not a situation where you like to see your star receiver kind of, putting himself in those situations. Considering probably for any team, couldn't have been the worst timing considering just about obviously a week and a half or so ago, his teammate Kyrie Jackson got killed by someone that, was suspicious of driving under the influence as well. So just kind of very poor timing, even though you should never be doing it. Just kind of this is the time of the offseason where NFL coaches are nervous the most, obviously, because, their players are not with them. They're kind of off on their own, and things like this can happen. And if Jordan Addison, God forbid, hurt himself or injured others, this situation could have been way worse. And I hope he knows for himself this has to be a learning lesson because obviously last offseason had a talking to for, driving that speed. And, this is what happens, the fear when you give, these young kids who are just kind of, 20, 21, my age or, just a little bit older, they have a lot to learn. And, they kind of, think they might be above, the law or, kind of they put themselves in situations where they shouldn't be. And it could have been way worse for Jordan Addison. Thankfully, he didn't injure anyone. But, boy, I mean, you just don't like to see this. And I'm curious, heading into camp, how Kevin O'Connell addresses this issue, because this is not an issue that should be taken lightly. Obviously, the Kyrie Jackson thing, that wasn't his fault. He wasn't driving. But just kind of that whole situation, then this happening with Jordan Addison and happening with his offensive coordinator, Wes Phillips, back in the season, last season. So I don't know what's going on, but for anyone that does this, just so stupid. I don't know why people think, they should do this. He fell asleep behind the wheel. He could have easily veered off to the road and gotten himself injured in, the worst situation possible. We don't even want to think about that, but it's just, those things are real possibilities when you make stupid decisions. And Jordan Addison, watching the wide receiver documentary, he should just follow Justin Jefferson's steps. Justin Jefferson just is a cool guy, likes to, work hard and then go home, be with his family, play his video games, and kind of, just take life easy. I feel like Jordan Addison should, be under Justin Jefferson's wing more, because the kid is so special to learn from, Jefferson, that is, and just being so special. And Addison alone has the talent. He had a great rookie season, almost 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, but he also needs to, be careful, because he could, be facing, I don't know what the punishment is, but, down the line, like a suspension for another offense, or he, may get, this may be a second offense, and he may get a suspension, down the line, just because of the NFL should be taking this stuff seriously. We had the Rashid Rice issue about a couple months ago, just, drag racing. And it's just been a crazy mess this offseason in the NFL. And this is the time where, rightfully so, coaches are just wanting training camp to start, because that way they're under their wing. Kevin O'Connell can watch over Jordan Addison, because this kid has proven he can't make the smartest decisions quite yet. And it's really unfortunate, because I do think he's a good kid deep down, but he's made quite a few mistakes since entering this league. And obviously that mistake could have been way worse. We've obviously seen the Henry Rugg situation where he was, racing, killed a woman and her dog. and now he's behind bars. His career is ruined. So you just don't like to see this kind of situation, and I would never want to see it for anyone. And obviously, as a Vikings fan, following Jordan Addison, this is something to be concerned about because there have been question marks about his character, his attitude. And I'm just curious. Hopefully, Kevin O'Connell can push the right buttons because this guy really is a special talent as well. And I think him and Jefferson could be, a special receiving duo in the upcoming future, and have already shown it last season when they were both on the field together. But they gotta make sure he's making the smart decisions, and most of it's going to be on Addison because they can't, as much as you'd like to control someone's life, you can't help what people do outside of the football field. But it should be very important to see what they're doing. But at the end of the day, just no excuse for Jordan Addison here because NFL teams, you're an NFL player, one of the star players in this league. There are ways to get around, whether it be Uber, you can afford Uber. NFL teams have security that can get out there and, and within 30 minutes, you can have a ride wherever you need to go. There's no reason to, get into a car when you're intoxicated and let alone just, tired, falling asleep, just so stupid. But, that's the worry, when you give these young kids a lot of money, stuff like this can happen. It's not, unfortunately, uncommon because of all the examples I've just given you. Rasheed Rice, even Jordan Addison's offensive coordinator, the Vikings offensive coordinator, Wes Phillips, who's a lot older, 50-something years old, I believe, doing stuff like this. It's just so stupid, but so frustrating, too, because, you would think these guys, have it all. But, one stupid decision can really turn someone's whole life around. And it's just, very unfortunate. But also, if I'm Jordan Addison, I'm counting my blessings because thankfully, like I said, he didn't injure anyone in this crash that has come out, or he himself wasn't injured. So, obviously, police did the right thing, arresting him, bringing him in. He was released. But, it should be interesting to see what the charges will be for that. Obviously, reckless driving under the influence, so stupid. But overall, as a Vikings fan, kind of mixed reactions. Obviously, you hate to see this and you need this kid to grow up. But, just be thankful that, nothing worse happened to this because most of the time, a lot worse does happen from this. And, a lot of people do get fired for doing stuff like this. And obviously, the Vikings won't release him. But, they really do got to step down on him because this can't be happening when you want to build a certain culture. And Jordan Addison is going to be seen as one of your leaders. You hope he can learn from this and, grow from this because you want him to be in the right mental state and physical state to be able to perform his best on the field. And seeing stuff like this, you're not getting it mentally off the field. So we'll see what happens, what he does training camp. Hopefully, this case scenario just locks in, realizes he messed up, will accept accountability, and just kind of, grind and get ready for the season. But overall, just not saying we should come up as training camp. It does approach from the Minnesota Vikings in the next week and a half or so. Should be very exciting just to see the boys back on the field, see how Sam Darnold looks with the first team. And it's just overall going to be very, positive vibes for the most part, I assume, with the Jefferson contract done, still having one of the most youngest defenses, them hoping to take another step in year 2 with Brian Flores, just getting, off the field, different story, but, just getting Jefferson, Addison, that wide receiver room, that one of the best duos in the league. Aaron Jones in for his first year at the Vikings with Ty Chandler, hoping to have a breakout year after he kind of showed a lot of flashes at the end of last season. So overall, I'll make sure to keep you guys updated on, training camp news and all that fun stuff. Will be in a very exciting time to see the boys playing some football again because it, problem with the NFL is compared to the NHL, MLB, NBA, a lot longer off season. They kind of space out the draft, free agency, and all that stuff. But the temptation is worth the wait because overall football is the best sport to watch by a mile, in my opinion. So it should be very fun to see, what the Vikings do and how they look in training camp because, obviously first year in 7 years without Kirk Cousins leading the way. So just kind of excited to see this prove it year for Sam Darnold. Excited for year 3 of Kevin O'Connell. What kind of scheme, how much does his scheme change or what does he add to his repertoire to help Sam Darnold out? Because he is definitely a lot more mobile than Kirk Cousins, but also probably doesn't have the arm accuracy of Kirk Cousins. So just kind of, the differences in the QBs will be very interesting. And like I said, them versus that defense that took a huge step from being one of the worst defenses in 2022 to being a middle of the pack defense last year. And then even though you lost Neil Hunter, a Vikings legend in my mind, you gain Jonathan Grenard, you gain Blake Cashman, you gain Andrew Van Ginkel, a lot of really solid players. Jonathan Grenard, 12.5 sacks with the Texans. Blake Cashman, top 10 coverage linebacker last season. And Andrew Van Ginkel, a kind of do-it-all guy for the Vikings. Had 5 sacks with the Dolphins, but also, interceptions, a lot of tackles. So hopefully his foot injury is okay. That'll be something to monitor, as he did miss OTAs with that injury. But, it should be just exciting to see the boys, and just every other team on the field. And with that, preseason will be coming up before we know it in less than a month. So it'll be a very exciting time, and I'm excited, here to cover it with you guys. With that being said, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, and I'll catch you in the next episode. This is the Land of 10,000 Sports Podcast. We're here, Vikings, Twins, Wild, Timberwolves, all that fun stuff, and we can't wait as we approach the season. Peace.